So there's definitely something to be said about knowing your customers. And it's not as simple as just knowing who your customers are. It's knowing, in a very simple sense, what they care about. So for Amazon, for instance, they know very well what their customers care about. It's lower prices and faster delivery when it comes to their delivery business, when it comes to selling their products, when it comes to Amazon.com. You just have to be very clear about what your customers care about. And in today's video, I'll be showing you how I come up with a conclusion of what my customers care about, what metrics I should be tracking, and this should be as simple as possible. You should be able to boil down into the simplest terms possible what your customers care about. Is it lower prices? Is it speed? Because at the end of the day, what your customers care about are really just either saving money or saving time, or maybe both. If you can save their time and or save money for them, it's probably going to be a hit, your product, that is. So for the DM Club, right now we are still thinking about what our customers actually care about. We've rolled out a couple of basic versions of our product, and it seems like our customers do resonate with the idea of getting informational interviews with people in their industry, but it seems like there's one thing that's lacking, and that is really a distinct path towards getting the job they want. Because at the end of the day, you don't just get informational interviews because you like networking, or at least that's not really the kind of user we're going for. You get informational interviews so you can get led to hiring opportunities that have not yet been advertised, so that you can get a leg up in the hiring process. So we know that. The difficulty is, how do we translate what we're doing into something that is of tangible value to our users? How do we make sure that once these users get an informational interview, that they can actually translate the advantage they get from talking to people in the companies that they want to work for into something that can be used for their job search process? And that really comes down to knowing what our users actually care about, which is why in today's video I'll be showing you how exactly I'm going to do that. And what I tend to do when it comes to structuring the ideas and thoughts that go into the product development process is I tend to go back to the Trello board that I set up for the product, and I go to product notes, which, as you can see, is a pretty distinct column in this whole Trello board. So there's going to be to do, doing, and done, which is mostly for dev work, and sometimes I do put in my own cards for product development work, but product development work is more, I would say, amorphous. At the end of the day, it's just build, measure, learn, and I tend to try to just group all the learnings into product notes, and then I try to break down those learnings into the distinct components of a startup. So pricing of the product, market sizing. But going back to the point, today I've created a card, what do users care about? And you have to be very clear about what your users care about so that you don't lose focus, so you don't go into this feature creep mode where you just create benefit after benefit without really knowing if your users will care about that benefit enough to use your product. It's like this analogy that I tried to tell my co-founder. It's that if I gave you $1 and I placed that dollar in Manhattan, and you live in upstate New York, and I tell you if you come to Manhattan you will pick up that $1 and then you will get to keep that dollar, that's a benefit, right? But that doesn't mean that you will care about that benefit. Okay, maybe that wasn't executed that properly. Okay, let me try again. So imagine you live in Manhattan and someone calls you and tells you that there's $10 on the street in Queens, and that if you go to Queens right now, you will get to keep that $10. While that is a benefit that you're offering to someone, that doesn't mean they will automatically care about that benefit. Okay, that's better executed. Which means that you have to be very careful about what kind of benefits you present to your users. And ultimately that comes down to knowing what your users care about most. So for the DM Club, since we're trying to help people with their job search, while we can't really control the success of people's job search, we can influence it so that they have the best possible chance of succeeding. And to me, it seems like what users probably care about is, I'm just gonna jot down ideas at this point, probably interviews. Just the number of interviews they get during their job search. And if we can create like a rhythm around interviews, like you can get like 2-3 interviews a week through cold outreach, through connecting your cold outreach to jobs maybe, then my users will care, I guess. Users will care about getting more interviews because that's a clear metric that can be tracked and directly relates to the job search, because if you get more interviews, it's natural to assume that you will increase your chances of getting a job. Great. So now we're very clear on the one metric that really matters to our users, which is getting more interviews. We can't exactly help them guarantee a job, but we can help them with getting more interviews. And that comes down to doing enough cold outreach maybe. So the next thing I really think about is I think about how this relates to what we can do with our product, what we can build, what we can measure, and what we can learn to make sure we're working towards this goal of, I'm gonna make this clear, getting more interviews. That's really it. It's not that complicated. It can be as simple as this. You don't have to overcomplicate the product development process. Sometimes it's just as simple as working towards getting more interviews for our users. Great. For Amazon, it's creating lower prices and creating faster delivery times. Very simple. For Walmart, it's the lowest prices possible. Pretty simple. It's not that complicated. When it comes to delivering value for your users, making sure that they actually like the product they're getting, you have to understand what they want in the clearest terms possible. I can't repeat this enough. And usually it just comes down to either price, time, or both. If you can help someone save time, if you can help someone save money, and enough time or enough money, then they will start to care. Then they will start to like your product. So that's all I wanted to say for this video. I just wanted to tell you that you just have to know what your users care about in the simplest terms possible. If you don't know that, you won't be able to get users for your product because they won't know why they're using your product. If you can't clearly state how you're saving their time, saving their money, or saving both their time and money, or maybe whatever metric that you think suits your users, they won't use your product. Simple as that.